fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The evening breeze carried night-blooming jasmine through the sunstone ballroom, undercut by the musk of spiced wine and the sharp tang of ambition. My fingers curled around the cold marble ledge as I watched him. Kale, warrior, obsession. His every movement was a predatory glide, the way his broad shoulders flexed beneath his tailored coat, the deliberate stride that made lesser men scatter. I knew his tells. The slight narrowing of his eyes when calculating, the way his thumb brushed the hilt of his dagger when anticipating a threat. Years of studying his battles hadn't prepared me for the visceral need now coiling low in my belly, not just for his body, though the gods knew I imagined tracing every scar, but for the ruthless mind beneath, the brilliant mind that could shatter kingdoms, or claim them, my kingdom, our kingdom, if he'd stop pretending not to notice how my breath caught when he prowled past. As I stood there, I couldn't help but remember the countless nights I'd spent analyzing his strategies, marveling at how his mind turned warfare into art. The way he orchestrated chaos with precision, leaving me aching and wanting more. And now here he was, standing mere feet away, his gaze burning through me like molten steel. I felt my skin flush, the heavy silk of my gown suddenly suffocating as I fought to maintain my composure. It was almost laughable, the renowned scholar reduced to a trembling novice by the mere presence of a man, but Kale was no ordinary man. He was a storm-given flesh, a tempest of power and cunning that left me dizzy. And yet, despite the danger radiating from him, I couldn't resist the pull. Like a sailor to siren song, I was helpless against the current of his magnetism, every nerve alight as I drank in the heat of his stare, the intoxicating blend of sandalwood and steel that clung to him. The low rumble of his laughter sent shivers down my spine, and I found myself wondering what it would be like to be the one who could make him laugh like that, to be the one who could bring a smile to his face. I imagined the way his eyes would crinkle at the corners, the way his lips would curve upwards, and my heart skipped a beat at the thought. As I stood there, lost in my own little world, I heard the sound of footsteps approaching. It was one of the other guests, a woman with a kind smile and a curious glint in her eye. "You seem lost in thought," she said, her voice low and soothing. "Are you quite all right?" I nodded, feeling a flush rise to my cheeks. "Yes, I'm fine, just admiring the view." The woman followed my gaze, and her eyes widened as she took in the sight of Kale. "Ah, I see," she said, a sly smile spreading across her face. "You're not the only one who's noticed him, I think." I felt a surge of embarrassment, but the woman just laughed. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, but I will say this, if you're going to catch his eye, you'll need to be bold. He's not a man who's easily impressed." I nodded, taking her words to heart. I knew she was right. If I wanted to catch Kale's attention, I would need to be brave. I would need to take a chance. As I stood there weighing my options, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Kale. "You look like you're deep in thought," he said, his voice low and husky. "What's on your mind?" I turned to him, my heart racing. "Just the future," I said, trying to sound calm, "and the possibilities that lie ahead." Kale's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing. "I think you're selling yourself short," he said. "You're not just thinking about the future, you're thinking about me." I felt a flush rise to my cheeks, but I didn't deny it. Instead, I met his gaze, my heart pounding in my chest. "Maybe I am," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Kale's eyes flashed with interest, and he took a step closer to me. "I think we could have a very interesting conversation," he said, his voice low and seductive. "One that could change the course of our lives forever." I felt a shiver run down my spine as he spoke, his words sending a thrill of excitement through me. I knew that I was taking a risk, but I couldn't help myself. I was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. And as we stood there, the tension between us building, I knew that I was ready to take a chance. I was ready to see where this journey would take us and what the future held. The evening breeze carried the scent of night-blooming jasmine through the sunstone ballroom, but I barely noticed. I was too caught up in the storm that was Kale, too caught up in the thrill of the unknown. And as we walked away from the crowd into the darkness of the night, I knew that I would never be the same again. The sound of the music and the laughter of the guests faded into the background as we walked, the only sound being the rustle of our clothes and the beating of our hearts. I felt alive, like I was walking on air, and I knew that I would never forget this moment. The moment when I took a chance, when I stepped into the unknown, and when I found myself in the arms of a man who would change my life forever. As we walked, the darkness seemed to press in around us, but I didn't feel afraid. I felt safe, like I was exactly where I was meant to be. And when Kale's hand brushed against mine, I felt a spark of electricity run through me. It was like the whole world had come alive, and I was a part of it. I was a part of something bigger than myself, something that would change the course of my life forever. The night air was cool and crisp, filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of distant music. It was a night like any other, but it was also a night that would change my life forever. a night that would bring me closer to the man who had captured my heart, and a night that would set me on a path that I would never forget. As we walked, the stars twinkled above us like diamonds in the sky. And I knew that I would always remember this moment, this feeling of being alive and being a part of something bigger than myself. The world seemed to stretch out before us, full of possibilities and promise, and I knew that I was ready to face whatever came next as long as I had Cale by my side. The sound of his voice, the touch of his hand, the beat of his heart. These were the things that I would remember, the things that would stay with me forever. And as we walked off into the night, I knew that I would never be the same again. I was no longer just a scholar, no longer just a woman. I was a part of something bigger, something that would change the course of my life forever. I was a part of a story that was still being written, and I was excited to see what the next chapter would bring.